because our rockets do produce carbon, you know.
True.
Like, oh, what a hypocrite. You know?
True. No.
He's obviously just in for the money. I feel I should address this. Aren't you being a hypocrite by launching rockets that produce carbon? Here's the problem is right now there's really no way to get around the physics of a rocket. So I think it's important for the long-term preservation and ultimately the expansion and extension of the scope and scale of consciousness and the long-term probability of survival of humanity and life as we know it. We must become a multi-planet species. Because there are all these risks that we can't control.
Existential risks.
There's all these
asteroid strikes.
Yeah. There's like
super volcanoes.
We could do, we could have a World War III or something. You know, there's, I'm optimistic about the future, but you can also say like, okay, well, so how long do you think civilization will last before there's a catastrophic event? If you say infinity, this is not correct.
Yes.
Okay. This is not. History does not suggest that. History just suggests we do dumb things to civilizations all the time, you know, and you know, there's the ancient Egyptians, ancient Romans, where are they now? Let's do the video series. Where are they now?
Yes.
The Babylonians, Sumerians, you name it, you know. So there's been many civilizations that have risen and fallen, and anyway, we've got to preserve. We're going to become multiplanetary, and right now the only way to do that is with rockets that do burn fuel. But we do have a long-term plan for sustainability of even rocket flights by generating propellant using sustainable energy, wind and solar, to generate, starting first with liquid oxygen. And for our Starship vehicle, it's almost 80% liquid oxygen and 20% liquid methane. The oxygen, it's obviously pretty easy to create that. You just use wind and solar electricity and you do air separator because you've got the oxygen already in the air. The plants are making the oxygen, so you can just use electricity, basically renewable electricity, to create 80% of the propellant on the rocket. And then for the remaining 20%, you can use the Sabatier process, where you actually take CO2 out of the atmosphere and you combine that with water to create CH4 and more O2.
Yep.
And that's in fact what we would do on Mars.
Sure.
To generate propellant.
Sure.
So there is a long-term plan for sustainable generation of propellant for the rockets. I do want to emphasize that. And if there's some other way to do that now, we certainly would.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to sort of address this apparent inconsistency in if generating carbon is bad, why are you doing that with rockets?
Yeah.
If we do, what actions can we take that will accelerate the transition out of the fossil fuel era? So there's a certain amount of carbon that is circulating through the environment. So it's going into the air, being absorbed by, and then getting absorbed by plants and animals, and then going back into the air. And this carbon is just circulating on the surface. And this is fine, and it's been doing that for millions, hundreds of millions of years. The thing that's changed is that we've added something to the mix. So we added all this extra carbon to the carbon cycle, and the net result is that the carbon in the ocean's atmosphere is growing over time. It's much more than can be absorbed by the ecosystem. It's really quite simple. We're taking billions of tons of carbon that's been buried for hundreds of millions of years and is not part of the carbon cycle, taking it from deep underground and adding it to the carbon cycle. The result is that a steady increase in the carbon in the atmosphere and in the ocean. The carbon parts per million has really been bouncing around the 300 level for around 10 million years. And then in the last few hundred years, it went into a vertical climb. This is the essence of the problem. This is very unusual and a very, very extreme threat, as you can see from this rate of growth. Then this is accompanied by a temperature increase, as one would expect. So the sensitivity of the climate is extremely, extremely high. We've amplified this sensitivity by building our cities right on the coastline, and most people live very close to the ocean. There are some countries, of course, that are very low lying and would be completely underwater in a a climate crisis. So we've essentially designed civilization to be super sensitive to climate change. The important thing to appreciate is that we are going to exit the fossil fuels era. So it is inevitable that we will exit the fossil fuels era because at a certain point we will simply run out of carbon to mine and burn. So the question is really when do we exit the era, not if. The goal is to exit the era as quickly as possible. That means we need to move from the old goal with the pre-industrial goal, which was to move from the old goal was to move from chopping wood and killing whales to fossil fuels, which actually, in that context, was a good thing. But the new goal is to move to a sustainable energy future. And we want to use things like hydro, solar, wind, geothermal, and we want to use energy sources that will be good for 1 billion years. So we need to go from having untaxed negative externality, which is effectively a hidden carbon subsidy of enormous size, $5.3 trillion a year, according to the IMF, every year. We need to move away from this and have a carbon tax. So, but this is being fought quite hard by the carbon producers, and they're using tactics that are very similar to what the cigarette industry or the tobacco industry used for many years. They would take the approach of having even though the overwhelming scientific consensus was that smoking cigarettes was bad for you, they would find a few scientists that would disagree, and then they would say, "Look, scientists disagree." So that's essentially how they would try to trick the public into thinking that smoking is not that bad. The solution, obviously, is to remove the subsidy. So that means we need to have a carbon tax, and to make it sort of something which is neither a left nor a right issue, we should make it probably a revenue-neutral carbon tax. So this would be a case of increasing taxes on carbon, but then reducing taxes in other places. So maybe there would be a reduction in sales tax or VAT, and an increase in carbon tax, so that only those using high levels of carbon would pay an increased tax. By definition, we must move to renewable energy. I think people sometimes, how can one argue against that? Because to argue for it is to say that we will eventually run out of energy and die. Or civilization will collapse. So obviously, we must find ways to produce energy in a renewable manner. The question is just how hard we should try, what pace we should go at it. And I think logically we should go as fast as we can, because since we know we have to get there eventually, it's better to get to a renewable future, a sustainable future sooner rather than later, get there before we do the environmental damage, not after. And even if one could say that, well, maybe there isn't that much environmental damage, to play the devil's advocate, maybe the environmental damage, maybe it won't be that bad. Why take the chance?